Hello, everyone out there. Millionaire by Morning listeners. We have a guest with us today. His name is Shane. He's going to talk to us about going through trauma to be able to help others get through their own trauma. Shane was given up for adoption by his 20-year-old American Irish Catholic mother. There's no reliable account of his whereabouts for the first 3 months of his life. It is assumed he was placed in the foster care system before his adoption in January of 1971. Thus began his relationship with trauma. This included violence, drug, alcohol addiction, school expulsions, conflicts with police, and countless other incidents fueled by low inhibition and high impulsivity. Since being reunited with his biological family and being informed of his father's alcohol-related death in 1977, Shane has gone on to open his own wilderness-based therapeutic nonprofit, becoming a public speaker, creating award-winning youth anti-suicide programs, travel the world, and continues to fulfill his purpose of helping others discover and shine the light that resides within every one of us. Most recently, Shane was the school psychologist for the Aspen School District. The irony of his challenges as a child in the public education system and his role now as a valued and trusted personality within that system, Shane credits his journey to his deep spirituality, the love and support of others, and to his own personal grit. Shane, Shooter Nelson,
Yes, sir.
owner of All Forward Adventures. Welcome to the Millionaire by Morning Show.
I am happy to be here, and I'm happy to meet you.
I'm glad, man. I'm glad you're here. I like to talk about this stuff, right? I like to talk
I know.
about
I've been
our,
listening.
our our past. I like to talk about what made us us, the traumas, the
Yeah.
drama, everything, man. So if you could take us back to the beginning
Hmm.
of where it all started, where you kind of just figured it out that, you know, this is who you was gonna be, regardless of the trauma.
So that's a great question. And I believe that for some people, the past is not a good fertile ground to go plant new seeds in. But I think for me, and it sounds like you, like the past has value. Our history, what was done to us, how we responded, what we did to others, why we did it, becomes our learning points. And if we want to grow and evolve, which I think is our purpose of being on this planet in this beautiful time right now, this volatile time right now, it's to grow and to evolve ourselves in our consciousness and our higher selves through this process that we're calling life. And mine started rough. I was giving up. I believe that my mom was really conflicted. She was 20 years old, unmarried. My dad, they weren't committing any crimes, but the sentence was harsh. So she had to go through a lot, and she had to move from her community in California, and she came to Boulder, Colorado, and gave me up two times that we know about. But she kept changing her mind, and she kept changing her heart. Every time it got personal, like she gave me up before I was born, signed the papers, and then at birth, apparently she said no. I'm gonna keep that one. And I think that began my history with feeling pain. I think
Right.
infants are incredibly sensitive, and things are going in. That's their most developmental years. But I went on to, I believe I'm empathetic. I believe I'm an empathetic person. So I feel the world. I feel the room I walk in. I feel everybody. And when you're a little boy, you do not know the difference between you, what you're feeling, and that room that you're feeling it in. And if you're in an environment that's not stable or safe or healthy, like many people are, you begin to feel, you adapt. You adapt. You can't handle that input without responding to it and changing it. You have to absorb it somehow. And mine was the world hurts, like it hurts bad. So I think I decided to take on the identity of I think I'm going to be in charge of the hurt. And if you get close to me, it'll cost you. Because if you get close to me, it's going to cost me. That's really what's happening. Is my fear of you leaving, or hurting me, or like betraying me somehow, was great enough that my personality, my identity, became somebody that would fight. I became too expensive to engage with. If that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah.
Right on.
No,
Yeah,
I've been there, man.
suburbs of
Like,
Colorado.
go ahead.
I think many of us have, and I've had the privilege and the opportunity. My life's just different. I just never bought into any of the crap that was being sold from the beginning. And that's dangerous for a kid to not buy into this stuff. Like, you become a dangerous kid to the system. Like, they're telling us, and this now, and this is a great explanation of the suicide and depression and anxiety rates in our youth. We're telling these young people that they need to do these things so they can do that thing to go do this thing so they can be happy and good adults. And these kids are smart enough right now to look at us and go like, you guys aren't happy.
Yeah.
Divorce is over 50%. You hate your job, Dad. Oh wait, Dad, I don't even see you. Mom's miserable the minute the kids leave. The identity is gone, and she has to reinvent herself, goes through a crisis, and adults aren't happy. We really, our responsibility to our youth, we short kicked it, man. We owe them an apology and some action.
Right. I can't
Yeah, we've
agree
let them.
more.
Right on.
I
Yeah,
can't I can't agree more, man.
I think
Um the I think the fact that they have the knowledge, the fact that they are able to get the knowledge. You can jump on Google, um,
access, access.
access.
Yeah, that's the word.
They have the access. We didn't have the access.
We
So,
had
you know,
we had the 5 miles around our feet.
yeah,
That was it.
yeah,
That was the truth. That was the universe.
yeah. We couldn't figure out the truth. We didn't know the real truth. Like, we didn't really know, and this is just something simple. We didn't know how much a job paid compared to what it should pay. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, we didn't know that, so we just did what we thought. Um,
Yeah,
we're really trying to we're really trying to impress our parents first and foremost.
I
But
think so too.
yeah,
And when they got home and let us back in the house,
yeah,
that was always good.
yeah, yeah. We're just glad to have something to drink.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, man.
The
It's
beauty in that, it's a
yeah,
double-edged sword. It's a dilemma, because on one side, I love that I'm a kid of the 70s and 80s, man. We best decades ever. Best music,
really,
best, I mean, if you're into drugs, the best drugs,
yeah,
best everything. And then it got a thing, capitalism took a different turn, and it became marketing and consumerism. And we have lost a lot of the ability to look at what we have and be grateful, because we're shown every day what we could have next.
right.
And that over, billion times that's going into our brain because it's being shot at us. Our brain begins to take that in, and that begins to become our focus. It works. The advertising works.
Yeah, it has worked. It has worked. It's working. Um, I heard someone say that everyone is as beautiful as they've ever been, but
Hmm.
no one is desired. And that
Wow.
stuck with me. Man, that stuck with
Wow.
me. Cause I'm like,
Ah,
that is the truth, man. Um, that's just the truth.
it is.
So
And that's a
we're
that's a tragic truth.
yeah, man. I don't know the time that we're in, but you
I can
are
tell.
you're kind of like me, man. You started with experiences and adventures. Am I correct? All
Yes,
four
sir.
adventures.
Yeah, it's called All Forward Adventures. We're a nonprofit. We do things outside and inside. Our inside work is assessment, like cognitive, behavioral, academic. And as a school psychologist, I'm trained to really, like, when parents are having difficulty relating to their kids. See, this is how it works, man. A kid has a problem in school. He comes home. Let's say he has attentive, caring parents. You know that they're engaged with their life, his life, and they can't understand why he's this way. Like, it's just his behavior that needs to change, and everything will be okay. That's not it, man. He may have attention deficit is becoming the norm. And when a boy, my experience is relevant. When a boy goes to school and he's asked to sit down for an extended period of time and listen, we aren't built that way.
Right.
We are not built to do that. And it is unethical and sometimes illegal to test someone on something they have not yet been presented with to learn or capable of doing, and evaluating them on him, like giving him a grade, or not letting him go to the next grade, or giving them a consequence if they failed on it. So we're testing our boys every day to sit still and listen in a system that is built for training workers, followers, the herd. It's a system for the herd. And you get mavericks like you, because I'm sure that's what that M on your hat says, Maverick. It's
definitely.
And me, I couldn't sit still, and that energy buildup, the science in it, the biology, your energy is building up, and in 8 seconds, I need to let it out, or something bad comes out of my mouth.
Yeah.
And so I poke somebody, and I have no structure. Nobody's given me any skills. No one's helped me understand myself, and the education system has continued to ignore this for 100 years. And then I get in trouble, and I get checked, and then the teacher says, Shane, and you start hearing your name, and when you hear your name, it creates a bad thing that follows, which creates a response in you to defend and protect yourself. Some of us get quiet, some of us go away, some of us get invisible, some of us stand up and say, fuck you, man. Like, what? Like, I'm just here. And that system right there, and that engagement with the classroom style and an undertrained teacher and an unself-aware child, you've just created an identity for that kid of, I'm a bad kid.
Yeah.
And when the kid actually owns that identity, because at some point he has to, because otherwise it's painful, it hurts. So if he puts on that hat, it takes a long time to get that hat off.
Definitely. As you're saying this, I am visualizing my childhood, and that's exactly what I went through. And even I have a 16-year-old son, and I try to refrain and know that, that's kind of like what goes on in these schools.
Oh,
And it is, man. They put the hat on these children and let them know that you're a good boy. These four walls are for you. These four walls is painted, these certain colors. You can sit
institutional
inside of
white.
these. Yeah, institutional white. You're good in these. Very
Yeah.
good employee. You'll make a very good employee. But this
And
one
if you're
over here just
quiet,
acting out.
you're really good.
Yeah. Yep.
Are you learning though?
Right.
Yeah. It's and so I went, like, my path back to education. I never, if you told me as a kid this is what I'd be doing, we would have had words. And the fact that I came back, it's the saying I heard, and you've probably heard this. It's epic. Be what you needed most. That's what we get to be as adults. Be what you needed most, man. And that hit me in my 30s, and it never left. And that's that's my north. That's my compass. That's my true north. Is being that for others, for the kids nowadays. And I hear you, man. I hear you talk about mentoring, and every time you do, even though I'm listening to it, I can hear you light up. Like, you're getting some joy out of this mentoring that you're getting engaged with. I think, is that right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
That's everything right there that you need to know about. You needing to know anything in the world. Like you get joy out of even the idea of mentoring youth. And that, man, we can go on that for hours. Why that
Yeah,
is, how you could do
that's
it.
what that's where it's at. That's like, man, that's where it's at. Like I don't, money. Um, we try to make as much of it as we can, but yet the purpose, you know, and the whole giving back and watching,
Mm.
getting the joy from someone that you've seen. I know me. I would run home and be like, I'd get in trouble waiting for the teacher to call, but I'd tell my
Yep. Yep.
parents, um, it wasn't me. Like, yeah, I was excited about answering the question. That's what I got in trouble for,
And I
But
got
when the
excited.
teacher called, yeah, I was excited. When the teacher called, it was something totally different, but I got in trouble for it. And I'm like, no, it wasn't,
So the
it wasn't like that.
so
So,
I'm gonna give you some healing right now. I'm gonna give you the other side of I'm gonna give you their experience, because when I went back to work in education, this is what I got. I was like, oh my goodness, I owed a lot of apologies to some teachers in my life and some students, because I interfered
right.
with learning, I interfered with teaching, and I interfered with learning for others. And what happens is the teacher has four of you in class. You're just one person, you know your experience, but there's three other guys just like you, and they're probably, by the third week of school, you're sitting on all four corners of the room because they've spread you out, and she's or he is just trying to manage their classroom at some point because the classes are too big. Teachers are not trained in behavior management in a positive way. They're not mental health workers, but they should be. And they're just trying to teach a lesson that they go home to and can't pay their bills because they're making $52,000 a year, and they don't have time for a personal life because you can't really go out on that kind of money. And they probably almost all of us have a second job, and the stress of life is just, it's right outside that door, and if it's waiting for us to walk out into it. So this impending doom feeling, you go back to school the next day, and there you are. So excited to answer the question that it looks like you're defying her, the rules. And so they perceive those interruptions over time as defiance. Like it is personal. Like you are saying no to her. And over time, enough kids saying no to her creates kind of a teacher that doesn't love kids anymore,
Right.
doesn't have the room to love kids, doesn't have the time to love kids, which is why they got in it. So the system is broken, and broken systems break people, and
Yeah.
broken people suck. Like they just suck to work with, man. Like
Yeah.
I have empathy, and I don't, and I care for them, but they really suck at work, man. They're obstructing. They everything they do is a fear-based decision, and I'm not afraid, and that really bothers people.
Right. Right. Yeah. Those are, well, in the educational system, that's definitely what is needed.
Yeah,
Um, I think that's why they put the coaches. They put the coaches in the classroom to teach the mathematics
right.
because they just not afraid. But that don't work out well either. You know.
No, no, because they're kind of one dimensional sometimes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know what they need in the classroom, aside from this love, is men.
Yeah.
So the fact that that coach is a man, and then put them in a room, there's something about it, man. The balance of the universe it's half and half. It's masculine and feminine, and education is 90%. It's 90% a woman field. It's a woman dominated. It's dominated by women in most positions, except superintendents and higher administrative positions. So men are still the
Right.
overrulers, and women are struggling to just keep it together in there,
Keeping
at
it
no fault of
together.
their own. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the lesson plan. I'm going to keep it together today.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. My college class was, I know, um, mostly everyone that graduated was, that's the field that they was going into.
Right.
And
Right.
now that was years ago.
Yeah.
Now I look up and they just like they can't take it no more.
No, Nope. And you in the college though, you love those people and they loved kids, man. You knew that they were
Yeah.
going into the profession that they're choosing with their heart.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I'm gonna, we're not gonna get rich, but I don't think they had any idea how poor they were gonna be.
And not only poor, like I think that capitalism is the cause. It's because it's not just, you have bad children or whatever, but the whole entire system needs an overhaul because
Yeah.
these teachers are just not respected as far as the money that they're being paid and the future of the kids that they want. Like some of these
Mhm.
kids they really want to be in warehouses. It's
Yeah.
not like
Well,
they want these kids to be advanced,
right.
you
The
know?
the in 2020, I resigned in March from my job as a school psychologist in a rural district here in the mountain towns of Colorado. And I resigned because I was so distraught and just I was out of gas at the ineffectiveness of my job. And we can come together and a kid gets sent to me for evaluation because he's of this behavior problem, right? And I'm good at my job, man. I'm really good at my job. And I'll find out about his family without judgment. And I'll watch him in the classroom without judgment. And I'll talk to his teacher and listen without judgment. And I've just learned about the teacher and who they are as people. I've learned about the family and who they are as people. And I've learned about this kid, this beautiful young boy who is not yet destroyed. I've learned about him. And when I can run a battery of tests to find out, what is there a challenge cognitively? Like, is there an impairment like dyslexia or do the emotional and behavioral assessments, like what's the effects? Is he depressed now? Is he defiant? Is it ADHD that looks like defiance? And I'll build with the team that our teams are awesome, and we'll build this incredible plan. And the parents will come in for the meeting. It's a 90-day process usually. Parents come in, tears in almost every meeting because a parent will look and say, I thank you so much. I understand my child now.
Right.
Like now I know that it's not him just defying me and not doing his homework. He can't. He's not
Right.
capable of it because something's in the way. We identify what's in the way, and then we create. I think out of the box, man. I create interventions for kids that meet their needs and to meet the needs that the demands expected of them. And we're just in love with each other at the end of that meeting. And in 30 days, man, no one knows where that piece of paper is anymore.
Wow.
And everything's back to what it was, and I couldn't handle it anymore. So I told my boss I'm done at the end of the year, and then COVID hit, and I wanted to be one of the ones that was like, I saw COVID coming. I mean, when they shut down the NBA, when billionaires are shutting down, I'm
Yeah.
paying attention. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I
Put
begged
some
for
money on it.
kids went home. We went remote. Everybody got a break except maybe the parents. And I have empathy for them, but it was my opinion when we went remote and there was no curriculum online or any sort of program that was prepared to meet this demand. I wanted my job back and I begged for it. And she asked me why. And I said, because everything is going to be back on the table for education. Like this is our moment. It's broken. We're going to leave this dead car burning on the side of the road and we're going to go invent a jet. We're going to invent a spaceship, man. We're going to invent the system that it should have been in place the whole time with the knowledge we've had and the mistakes of the past and what has worked. And we're going to make it. We can make it all better. And I need to be at that table, and I need this job to be at that table.
Yeah.
Nobody showed up to that table, man. We raced back to the broken system, and now the teachers that were the best that spend their own money on supplies. That year after we came back, that broke them, and they're gone.
Yep.
They're
I
out.
seen it in real time. I seen it in real time.
Yeah, that's where we're at. And so I'm building a fire. I'm I'm in protest right now. I think I'm in a one-man revolution. I'm in a protest. I'm a picket line of one, and I'm just yelling. And I think you guys must have heard me somewhere because here we are. And
Right.
some people are going to hear you and I right now when this goes live and goes on air.
Right.
We need to change it. We need to change how we treat our kids. We need to realize that we did not meet our own expectations and hopes and dreams, and they see that. And these kids are smart enough to know that our plan didn't work. So we're maybe not going to follow. They're not going to be so bought in on doing what we say is right.
They are not. I don't know if you've seen over the course of the last week, there's been TikTok. I've been seeing it on Twitter or X, whatever it's called now. But the new generation has been coming out. They just left college. They've hit the workforce. And they are like, no, we're not doing this.
No, nope.
Yeah.
And yep, I've seen it. And I was 2 year and a half ago, I was a college professor in the education department. So I was teaching the new teachers, which is the best irony ever. I signed my contract in the same building I got kicked out of college in and had to beg to let me back in. Full circle, And so I'm telling these young people, I'm not going to lie to you. This is what it's like, but this is why we need you so bad. And gave it to them, I gave them the truth. And the generation before this generation was the generation, I think they just noticed, they identified the problem. Like, these aren't livable wages. I cannot buy a house as a single person with a good job. What the demands from the corporation, I'm replaceable, I'm expendable. My wellness days that is in HR tells you all about, and you should use your wellness days. You use your wellness days, man. You're weak.
Yeah.
And that's, it's not real. And these kids, this generation right here is this generation has power. They really, like, all the knowledge is here right now for them from all the experiences of those before. This generation made therapy a good thing to go be getting.
Yeah.
Like, they've normalized therapy. They're not letting the issues that happen inside their house, the abuse, the alcoholism, the neglect, the scarcity, that doesn't just get kept in the house anymore.
Right.
They broke that. Those chains those doors are open, and they're showing people what's going on in their house. And so we're aware now. We're aware. And now it's our job still as the elders, because that's what we are. We need to do some. We need to take action and help the next generation be able to make progress instead of just bandaging the wounds.
You are 100% correct. I'm gonna tell you what's sad about it. I have caught myself, because we traumatized. Let me use the correct word. We are traumatized, just from our generation. And what these young kids are kind of showing us, it's a different time, of course. But like, even with me, and I have, like I said, a 16-year-old son, and there's some things that he come home and says or does, and I want to discipline. But now it's gotten to the point that before I do that, I think about it. And because I've done it before, and after I thought about it, he had a point. I'm like, oh, he has a point. Like,
they're aware.
Yeah, they are aware. They're more aware than what I was, and maybe at their age, they're able to recognize, in which I wasn't able to at my age. That same age.
Well,
but
he's communicating. He's able to communicate it to you. Like, his word, the vocabulary has changed. Words like feelings, and I think that in front of a sentence, these kids are better communicators, and we're having to learn a language that they're speaking that we should have been teaching them. It's role reversal right now, and your ability to take a minute and then reflect and then go back and be like, yeah, son, that you had a point. But
you got a point.
But that right there, the point, you can build on the point, but whatever the original cause, the point is not the win. The point is the new solution. And the win is you holding that line, but now you have a better relationship with your kid to hold it. And the discipline doesn't have to be punitive. Positive reinforcement has proven scientifically, the data is there, is better every time than negative consequence. So rewards and praise and noting the good things that they do is essential. because you're countering all the bad
Yeah.
things they hear they do all day, and those numbers
Right.
are high. So we got to
Oh, definitely.
put numbers on the board.
Yeah. Because you're playing a game against a system. It's
And
definitely a game.
society.
Yeah, society. Yes, very much so.
What's your son's gift? What's his gift to the world? Like not your idea, but his gift. What is your son special?
Man, I was just telling him the other day, his gift is um intelligence and the way that he's able to carry himself and be a leader amongst others. I've seen that in him since
Hmm.
he was just a young person. And we just spoke about that the other day because I seen a TikTok and I showed him the TikTok. And he used to be able to do math in his head. I give him any math problem when he was like 4 or 5 years old. And he can't do that anymore. And I was telling him, you was able to do this before you enrolled in school. Like you can't the same problems you was doing at 4 or 5 years old in your head. Once you enrolled in school, you're no longer able to do those same problems. And that's crazy to me. But yet still I know what that is, you know, and that's just part of, being in a society that's, it's better to use a calculator than your own mind. But
It so everything's available. Like when I was a kid and I was like defiant in math, I was, but because I couldn't do it, I didn't understand it. So I defied it, and I made it hard for the teachers and my classmates. But I was right when I said, when am I going to use this when I'm an adult? And here we are in an age that like my phone does everything I said I
yeah,
didn't need to learn
yep,
when I was in middle school. But the
yeah,
consequence to not like we need to change what we're teaching, and we need to change we can't. The model is we teach to the test. So your son is learning things so that he can display his knowledge on a test, and then that thing goes away and he never thinks about it again. That's
right,
not learning. That's not ingrained in him.
right,
And I would give, if somebody had $1 million right now and was at my door saying, I'll give you $1 million if you answer this door, I would say no, because I want to tell you something about your son. Like, I'd rather spend this time doing this.
yeah,
Your son is a leader, right? He has that innate quality. I hear that. I can see it in your face. Like you were smiling when you were
definitely,
talking about him. Leaders don't just show up. They're born with a certain, like some leaders were born with a certain something. But our culture does not cultivate leadership based on character, integrity, and the good of others. Like that is, you screw math. I don't care what else your son needs to learn, but you as his father have the opportunity and man, actually the obligation uh, to make sure your son's character and integrity and his sense of self acceptance and appreciation for who he is what gets nurtured from here, because this is the age that he's about to walk into where that stuff is taken
yeah,
away. And create the leader in him that he's born to be, and let's just watch what happens. Because a good leader, your son becomes a good leader. He leads people. Those people are led in a good direction to somewhere positive. The effect just boom, 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 boom. One good leader can change the
continues to
course for
grow.
thousands of people and not
Definitely,
even know it. Yeah.
definitely,
And so your quality time with him and letting him know, like, ask him to teach you something. Like, I mean, I don't know what, like, son, teach me something that I don't know. And have it be like theoretical or about society these days or what it's like to be a kid.
right,
What is he afraid of? Ask him what he's afraid of, and let him, like, give him a real safe place and a lot of time to answer that. Like, have it an ongoing open question, like, son, what are you afraid of? Like, out in the world, what scares you? What's
right.
what are you gonna have to? Yeah, and
An
then we
open-ended
learn how to.
question.
Yep, it's because that creates conversation,
Yeah,
a continued conversation. And when you know what your son's afraid of, you can tell him you can teach him how to face it.
right, right. I get it, man. I get it.
I know you do. I know.
it's amazing to watch, because you know how society is, and you know what society wants from the kid, whether you're a teacher
Hmm.
or, I have a son, nephew, you know what they want. So you kind of want to say, man, listen, I don't, yeah, we're different between our ages, between, how we was brought up and how you're brought up, but yet and still we have those same goals. We have the same qualities that, you need to just kind of be a good person on this earth, a good person in this
Resilient.
society. Yeah, man, it's all the same, from day one. That's been the same and will remain the same. So
Yes.
um, we need people that's out here
Our
teaching
kids
that.
should, yeah, it will, who taught us? That's the thing. Men need to show back up, and we're going
Yeah,
to, it's happening. And the rise of femininity and equality right now, I'm a big supporter of it, but it's a movement. It's long overdue, and it's going to have its own consequences. It will. But the
it
benefit is
already
going to be we
is.
get to, yeah, yeah, I'm a target. But the benefit, man, the benefit is yet to be seen, but it's here already, and that is we get to reevaluate who we are as men and how we engage with the world. And we are no longer a gender that is. We get our love, like our love language is being valued. Like we provide things, and we get we see the value in the, like, what it does for them. That's our love, and they don't need us to do any of that anymore. They don't need me to kill a buffalo and bring it back through a blizzard, because they can order it on Amazon. And so
Hmm.
we get to, being needed is easier than being wanted. And right now, men, we're in this place. So many men don't. No one knows this yet, but we don't. We're not. We're applying for a job that doesn't exist anymore as a traditional man. And instead of providing, we need to turn around and work on ourselves, and we need to do it. And we need to create what we need to discover, how we want to grow before someone tells us what we need and mandates how we grow and what we do. Because if we hand that
Man,
power over, yeah,
you
you get
just
me.
said, yeah, you just said a mouthful right there, man. It's a job that is no longer required. Goodness.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that somebody is going to take, like, already there's we don't speak the same language that our female, that our wives and our moms and our sisters do, like, and our girlfriends. We're different. And right now, all the things that we were born to do, that our DNA, like, makes we feel like we're actually living our life, they don't make money, and they're not necessary anymore in this society. We're a technological society. We push buttons and things happen. Uh, so we have an opportunity to absolutely reinvent our gift to this world, and then yeah, it's a really important time. And you and your son, uh, two, I couldn't think of two better people to pioneer this.
Yeah, man. Uh, because I've already made concessions that if our society continue like this, in which it's more of a, and this is just me coming from where I come from, but if it moves into being a matriarchy, then it might be time for us to grab our passports and go seek a patriarchy somewhere.
and and
And
and and we should, like, and if we don't decide to do that on our own, they're going to be handing us our passports and telling us where to go.
there you go. There you
and
go.
uh and what'll be
Yeah.
good for us. And that there's no gender holds the patent on toxicity. Power is the toxic creator.
Yeah.
Power,
Definitely.
power they're coming into their power, but they're in their infancy of understanding it and delegating it in a compassionate, nurturing, beautiful way that the feminine is
Definitely.
capable of. That's what they are. And learning how to do it, there's a lot of anger still, for this generation of women. Like, they've went through a lot, and here they are. They've got freedom that their moms didn't have.
Yeah,
And
and
there's a
it's separation. Now it's a separation, and then and it's just like to me, it's just like a breakup. The first thing is hatred.
yep,
Like,
anger.
I can't stand that person. But then you eventually start to deal with the person later on, or divorce or whatever. But first and foremost, it's ugly. And we are just at an ugly time right now. And I
We
don't
are.
know. It's stressful,
I'll
really
give you the
stressful.
I'll give you the good news.
What's
Uh,
that?
you and I get to decide who we are in this ugly time. No one else gets to decide that for us.
Yeah, yeah.
I want
I've
to be a
decided.
beautiful. I want to be a beautiful bastard that burns bonfires of truth and like, come to the light. Let's have a fire over here. We'll figure it out. And I want to remember who I was at this time, 20 years from now, and celebrate the changes that I helped make.
Awesome. Yeah. That it's a change in time. So you're right, man. We are at the forefront, or anybody that want to make a change. This is the time. This is the forefront.
It is.
You can stick your stake in the ground right now.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. And the ground, yeah, stand it. Hold that line.
Yeah.
And a lot of that process for you and I is going to be taking a really long look at ourselves, um, and finding out what we need to unlearn and finding out what just isn't true anymore.
Yeah, I don't think anything that we learned is true anymore. I
No,
don't,
it's not.
if we're looking, they um let's just talk about our old TV shows. And I know this is
Let's do it.
we're they would never last the test of time. What we're looked at as is toxic masculinity. So our time has passed, gone. It's not
Mm-hmm.
coming back. Even our way of thinking,
Mm-hmm.
we're having to change because that's just who we were. That was the time back then.
And if we
Um,
fight that, we're wasting time.
yeah, yeah, because that's not coming back. So now we have to change ourselves,
Yeah,
even with like my son, I can't give him the same advice that my father gave me based on the time. And that's all that's really, really difficult. That's the most difficult thing I can say that I faced. Because myself, I'm not concerned about myself. I can hunker down, I can change my ways, but how do I raise a kid with these? This is what I was taught. So now
right.
I'm like, I don't know what to tell him, what to accept, who to accept, how to act. I don't know because I didn't grow up in that time frame, you
Right.
know. So
So
that's
it's
the part.
you are a beautiful example of a man right now because you are introspective, you're willing to listen, you're willing to be wrong and correct it if needed. Like that's what it takes. And you
Yeah.
get to go out and experience this world and you can do it with through like put your father glasses on, put your father hat on, go out into the world with the sole purpose of a whole day of like, what do I need to know to teach my son now? And just walk around and look at the world through those eyes as like, what does my son need to know? And then you go home and you give it, like, you guys share that experience and engage, because that time with the father is, I think a lot of us would love to have that time with the father.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely.
I had the beautiful, like my life is it's crazy. It was really, really, really bad. I made it really, really worse. And then it got really, really, really good. And now it's just hard. And what happened, my adoptive dad, I didn't know my real dad. My adoptive dad was an incredibly sweet, kind, uh, sensitive, artistic, unfinancially successful. He'd never been in a fight. I had to teach him how to throw a baseball. I once got in a fight in school because my friends saw my dad reading a book at a baseball game, and they were like, "Your dad," and I fought him. Like that's what we did.
Right.
And so I perceived all of that as weakness. And when I went on when I went on that quest and found my family, I found the dad I always wanted. Um, People spoke of him with reverence. He was beautiful. Like he did crazy things, like got drunk and broke into the dog pound and let all the dogs go. But he was also dead, and he also died drunk behind the wheel, and he also died at 33, and he also died not knowing that his father loved him.
Mm.
And I found my grandpa, who never knew I was born. I found his dad at the age I was at the age my dad was when he died. So I'm a grown man standing at this door of a mom and dad who buried their kid 30 years ago. And that's a lot. And my grandpa was clearly a stoic American man. You know, he had a strong handshake and he stood upright, and he was good and solid in the way that men were taught to be. He was that man. And as we started talking, he started showing some emotion, and he got up and he came back and he gave me this piece of paper. And this piece of paper was beautiful. The paper itself was special. The raised lettering. He had this made, and he handed it to me and he said, "I read this at your father's funeral." And he walked out of the room, and I didn't see him again that day. I never saw him again.
Oh
And I read,
wow.
yeah, and I read it, and it said this: "I'm sorry." A very late letter to my son. "Dear son, I am sorry I never told you I loved you. I am sorry I never told you how proud of you I was. I'm sorry I never told you when you pulled up to work how excited I was for the day to come." And it was this list. It was an apology for all the things he didn't say, that are all the things that my dad, that I perceived as weak, said to me all the time. He taught
Mm.
me how to cry. He hugged me. He taught me how to draw. He taught me how to express my feelings with poetry and writing and art. And he taught me to embrace my creative side and be gentle and soft. And I realized in that very moment that there is a God, and that I'm alive because I got those things. And the bloodline in me dies young, but I didn't. I'm the chain breaker because I was removed from that environment that would have killed me and placed with a gentle man that knows way more about quantum physics than I do. And he hugged his kid, and he did his best.
Yeah.
And that love and support, like those feelings, he taught me how to manage. He taught me how to be aware of my feelings and express the good ones, and try to express the bad ones in a healthy way. That's fatherhood.
That's fatherhood. That's
Yeah.
fatherhood. That's profound. That is, man, when you just said, oh man, you 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 killed off the part that wasn't supposed to be a part anymore. Yeah.
The universe was working on my behalf the entire time. So that intro
Yeah.
of like, no one knows where I was for 3 months, the early trauma, like, was then I was that trauma was had to happen for me to get the love that I needed over time. And had that not happened, my dad would have been my hero. I would have been 7 when he died. The world would have known my fire. And I'd be gone 30 years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah. 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 There you go, man. There's I like how you took that. You made the ashes. You made fire from ashes. The ashes burnt out, but you
Yeah.
still made fire from
Right
it.
on.
That's awesome, man. Jesus.
What's the
Yeah.
what's Yeah, he's in there too. Like,
Yeah.
what's the thing that hurts you the most as a kid, that now you is a source of strength for you? If that's too personal, that's okay.
Um, probably to my father was he was rough and tough. He
Yeah.
was rough and tough and dangerous. I remember the day that I found out that he was cheating on my mother, and that has made me be the person that has never cheated, right? Like,
Mm.
and and the thing about it is, like, I was, I wasn't grown. I was a teenager when I found out, and me and him had it out about it, you know. And I didn't understand it at that point, and he tried to make me understand it. This is just what a man does. And I still didn't understand it because that was my mother. But
Mm.
I can say to this, to this day and to this point, that's still something that I just look back on, and it made me, not only, well, I can't I can't say that because I thought, my mother was the best woman on earth. So of course, I think I'm with the best woman on earth now, but yet and still, it causes me not to indulge. You know what I mean? Outside of my
Great. Yeah.
marriage. So that right there was a point in my life that I could say that I pushed back on my father. I
So
know for
that
sure.
that the best act of fatherhood that gave you the most learning, that helped you be the man you are today, the good man you are today, was something he taught you that you decided he taught you. You learned from him what not to do. He taught you that.
Yeah,
And that's a sad lesson. That's a sad way to get that lesson, and it's tragic actually, but you got that lesson.
yeah,
My dad died drunk upside down in a truck in a ditch. No one knew about it till they found the truck, and I learned from him how how not to die. Like that was not an acceptable
right,
death for me. That led to me
right,
getting sober, and getting sober changed my life. I learned from my father what not to do,
right, right,
and I
right.
and I love and I love him very much for that. Actually, like I never met him, but I love him, and I love that he was doing his best. And if you look at your father, the question I always ask kids after we get to the place where we understand what's wrong, and we're talking about dads, the next question I ask is what's your grandpa like? What was your dad's dad like? And you know what? We just keep going back and peeling the layers, and it was never there in the first place. Like
Yeah,
what we desire and want and need hadn't really existed for a lot of people for decades and generations.
right, right. And man, you're right. Some things are cut out, left out for the goodness. Some things are brought to you for the goodness. Some things you
Yeah,
see for the goodness of your well-being down the line, further on down the line.
for your son.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Definitely, man. I that's that's part of peeling back the layer. You peeling
Mm.
back the layer, man. You got to get to the bottom of it. It
Yeah,
hurts sometimes. Sometimes, it's uh, well, it's a part of it at all times, but sometimes, it may hurt. But like you say, it's a lesson. It's a lesson in there somewhere.
and if your environment is safe and your needs are met as a kid, you have the ability to learn great things. And when you're struggling for food, or at a certain time of the night your house isn't safe anymore, or never is in the first place, it's hard to learn. It's hard to go to school and pay attention.
It's
It's
hard
hard
to
to get.
learn. That's
Nope.
one of my lessons that I teach. I have a little course or whatever that I teach, and the thing about it is when you're struggling, it's hard to survive, and that goes for kids.
Yeah.
That for grown-ups. That struggle and that
Yeah.
strife make it hard for you to survive and to move at a pace that you can move forward. So
Yeah.
yeah, man. Shame.
And it's hard to be alone. It's Yeah, buddy.
No, I'm about to say, man, I would love to continue this conversation, but I got another one coming up. Um,
I
and
I'd go all day with you, man.
I
So
know
here,
it.
the
I know it. Me
invitation.
too.
I want to make the invitation official. I do programs for fathers and sons. Uh, you're coming out next summer. We're gonna get on the river. Bring your boy, and we're gonna have a good time. And we're gonna do good
Next
work.
summer, Colorado.
Yep,
Correct.
Colorado. Yes, sir.
Okay. This sounds awesome, man.
I'm not
Um,
kidding.
not only the summer. Find me something for winter as well. We've never been skiing or
Oh,
snow, anything.
let's talk offline. I got you.
Okay, okay.
I
All right,
got you.
that's what we'll do.
Yeah,
Okay. I'll send you an invite. We'll continue our conversation. Even if we have to do another podcast,
I'll do
continue
it.
it. Okay, okay. I'll send you a message. Thank you for coming on my show tonight, man.
Thank you for doing what you're doing, my friend. You are doing more than you probably know. You're
Most
important.
definitely.
You're really, really important right now.
Thanks a lot, man. I, I,
Yeah,
I appreciate that. I appreciate
yeah,
that.
yeah. Kids see
All
you.
right. You have a great night. I'll talk
You
to you
too, my
later.
friend. Bye-bye.
All right, Shane. Bye.